How do you avoid over focusing on metrics, assuming that's possible, when doing UA?
Well, people get pretty critical about like different things and especially metrics and because there are goals so it for all the UA managers. And if you don't meet the goals, then well, you're not a good manager, right? I I was always a little bit different in this because I get the feeling of when I see the campaigns and the LTV curves and basically based on the goals and the numbers that the people see, they would already kill the campaign because oh my god, well look, it doesn't really meet the goal that we have. I was like, yeah, well now it's not, but yesterday it was, and the day before it was as well. Now like one day doesn't mean shit. So the good UA manager need to have a certain gut feeling based on the campaigns that he or she ran before, because you were in this situation million times before. So numbers are great, and obviously you need to follow the goals and targets and the numbers. But there's always the feeling on or the idea or the idea of thought the back of your head, like, hey, let's just leave this a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm.
When I do it, it's usually going in the right direction. So you need to kind of develop this gut feeling as you go. So people and UA managers obviously, yeah, they overthink always. Like, oh well, this is my day 7 goal. What happens afterwards, I don't care because I met the goal. That's also like one part of the problem. So because that you can lose on let's say day 30 or day 180 afterwards.
Right.
So yeah,
All right. An interesting one for you. Are there environments where you shouldn't worry about UA or where it's just not worth the cost?
uh, environments. You mean different genres
Just
or
just general.
platforms? I don't think if you want players in your game and it doesn't really work that like people just magically find your game out there because there are thousands of games going live on a daily basis. How can you make sure? Well, you need to be obviously different. So, like you said, like viral hit, but it doesn't happen that often. And of course, you need to be very careful if there are the environments like match 3 or strategy game, and you made a decision, God knows why, to go into these red oceans and just build the game there. Yes, okay, fine. Well, you need to either be very creative and just think about something else, but you still need to run the UA just to get the players into your game. So I don't think there are just areas where you just it's not worth it. Honestly, it's worth it. It's just different for different genres.
Yeah. Yeah. So when League of Legends was like organically just growing like wildfire and they weren't doing any ad spend, you would have said like, hey, even in this environment and perhaps especially in this environment, you could accelerate this with some ads and that might be worthwhile.
That's one thing because the organic install it's not never ending. It's just
Yep.
one day it can stop, and if it stops and you don't know what to do else, then you're fucked. So even if in these like organic hits like the subway surfers and the hill climb racing from Fingersoft, even they started kind of using some like doing some kind of UA because again it stops and you can't control. One day
Yeah.
you wake up and suddenly you have 0 players because well whatever reason. Now what? And you can't say like oh well but League of Legends will live forever. That may be true, but what
Right.
if? What if?
Yeah.
And if that happens, it's already too late. It's already too late. You need to be 2 steps. Well,
So
we like to say on our 2.5 gamers podcast, you need to be 2.5 steps ahead of that.
and I think I hadn't thought about it from that angle of um all game like there's a you will hit saturation at some point through the channels that you have where basically your churn and your growth equalize, and then perhaps even you start churning more than you're growing. And now, and if you haven't been using the time to date, even in like very small ways, to like test and just like, oh, we won't spend a ton of money. We'll spend a little bit of money because I was thinking like, well, League would have been in danger had they run ads because they were already blowing out their servers so badly that if you added, double that number, you have the technical problem.
Yeah.
But uh, maybe you don't want to double it. But you just want to like test, just like start
Yeah,
experimenting, see what's
yeah,
working,
exactly.
have that kind of going in the background. Even if you're highly successful, think about that because you will hit that saturation point.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
okay.
And also, I had a few games where we had a discussion afterward. Like, look, they were saying, but we started running UA, but we are not growing. And like, where's the problem? Well, we started running UA, and you're flat, which means if you didn't start the UA, well, you would be decreasing and declining like the numbers because you don't know, right? Oh, wait a second. Yeah, it might be true. Yeah, like exactly. So can
Got it.
happen.
Okay. What are the top mistakes to avoid when bringing players to your game?
I talked about it from the data point of view.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always the biggest problem. And also I touched that the payback period where you are trying to get the money back in 2 years, but the retention after data it's zero. It's always the interesting mistake. And then you kind of assume things will get better. But they won't. I mean, in terms of the UA, you need to make adjustments to campaigns, optimize campaigns, do use different channels. You need to work with those campaigns because people sometimes they think, oh well, I just started this campaign and it's gonna run forever. Well, that's not the case.
Right.
Or the biggest mistake is to assume if you increase the budget, then you will obviously you double the budget, you spend double the money, and you will get double the revenue. Oh, that's not really, it's not that's not how it works. Also, you increase the
Mm.
budget, you expect you will get more players. Well, you increase the budget, you sometimes you can even get less players because the CPI, the cost per install, increase dramatically because you increase the budget as well. So it's all these different small things that can go wrong, and then people are just surprised.
You talked about channels earlier, and now for some reason that just came up for me as you were describing all that, and I was thinking like, man, what channels and this may subdivide somehow across genre or something, but like if someone came to you, what do you want to know what channels to target?
I would start with anyway the classic mix that I usually use, which is Facebook, Google, and uploading to a certain extent, or TikTok, because that's easy to run or set up, or relatively easy to set up. It will give you some indication where the numbers are. Before kind of starting these channels, I would really want to see at least some numbers, whatever there was before, if they run any UA or like how the organic looks like. If there is no channels, then I would just need to come up with the strategy, which would be again very simple from the start. Facebook only, small budget, and then increase over time.
Mm-hmm. And then what are you said there's a lot of channels nowadays where people can go. Yeah, that's obviously a lot of different social media networks. Like if you've got a game and it's running pretty well, and they've brought you in, and maybe they're only running on those three. They're like, hey, we're on TikTok, Facebook, and Google. That's all we've got. We're actually getting good numbers. Where should we go? Where what
Yeah.
do you recommend?
Yeah, there's gonna be Uplovin, there's gonna be Mintegral. I would take Unity as well, Iron Source, and now there's the big trend of rewarded UA channels, which is basically players play the game, they hit level 50, they get rewarded. So something like this with the gift card or whatever. So this is now blowing up quite heavily, and it's kind of complicated because it was a case before where it was called offer walls, but they was banned on iOS. So now all these channels are big on Android. Some of them are using some workarounds to be on iOS as well, but like that's a part of that that UA channel mix, which is kind of big, and then we have Moloko as well, which is one other big channel that I use really and always forget about it. When
Mm.
people ask, like, what channels do you use? I keep forgetting about Moloko, and I use it all the time.
Mm.
But anyway, yeah, that's the sidetrack.
Yeah.
So there's like 50 different channels you can use.
If someone said like, "Hey, I want to keep it all focused on one channel," would you say no, you don't, or would you say, "Okay, here's the right one for you"?
Now, I would say you can do it, but don't do it.
Don't do it. Yeah.
At least because now we had a live ask me anything session on our podcast 2 days ago, and this person asked, look, so we are running $1,500 per day budget, and we run only Unity. Is it enough, or what should I do? And I said, look, it's okay, but if I were you, I would take at least 20% of that budget and start running Facebook. And
See what
then
happens.
based on, yeah, and see what happens, because if you run Unity, it also means you will see pretty good results on other channels as well, because Unity is not the best performing channel these days. So if you see good numbers there, you will see better numbers elsewhere. So
Interesting.
yeah, that's my kind of way of thinking here. So I said this, and then as soon as you start running these channels, then I'm pretty sure you will see higher revenues because better quality of higher quality users, and then you can actually start spending more eventually, and then open up Google or just spend more on Facebook, and then add TikTok again. So it it's really important, because I had this case where I had Facebook only, and we were in soft launch with this game, and we almost killed the game. And then before the look, like, you know what, like, let's try other channels, because we need benchmarks. And we started Google and Unity, and those two channels actually saved that game, because the numbers were looking pretty good and even better than Facebook. So then we actually global launched the game, and now it's sitting there. Obviously, it's not doing millions, but still pretty good for the company, which was a small company. So that's why I think you still need to run always at least two channels so you can compare them against each other.